So Valley Children's Healthcare is one of my favorite clients. They're on the West Coast and they're a pediatric hospital. They're so well renowned in their market, and they have some of the best doctors. They treat some of the toughest cases.
So Valley Children's contacted us about something very specific, a rebrand. They had been known as Valley Children's when they were first founded. For a period, they were known as Children's Hospital of Central California, and they started doing some research about, hey, should we be Valley Children's again? Do people really know us as that? They kind of still call us that. And that's when they brought us in. We took that research and totally agreed with it and started moving them back to that Valley Children's name. And what became really, really specific is that people connected that place with that name. And so as we developed things like the logo and brand identity, it was important for us to roll over some existing elements so people could track them through. And one of those being George, their mascot, who is featured heavily in the brand. He remained as Children's Hospital of Central California, and we thought it was essential to bring him over into the new Valley Children's Hospital brand identity. And yes, we went in and tightened and did things from a branding standpoint that make the logo much more successful, moving George's face facing into the name so that his eye line and your eye line is drawn into the name, putting him in a shield so that he commands much more white space and much more clearance when we put him into things like signage. Valley Children's dominated in the market that they existed in the longest. And this is the case with a lot of hospitals. They build a brand reputation through word of mouth, through referral, through great patient outcomes. And so in Fresno, where they've been the longest, they had a 95% brand awareness. They had high recall, they had high consideration. And as they started to move into new markets, north into Merced and south into Kern County and these areas, they started to realize, hey, our consideration point and our brand awareness, while maybe high, isn't as great as it is in our core area.
So what we did was we applied a donut strategy. We did sort of a protect and defend strategy for the Fresno Madera market, and we cut back the media dollars. And we kept a close eye on it because you never know how much really to cut back. You sort of go in small increments, and then you hit that sweet spot where you can maintain that awareness. And in the north and south markets, we had a very aggressive media strategy.
And this strategy was heavily digital media, especially as we moved into a time and an era where we could pinpoint and geo-weight those messages by not only zip, but down to household.
So we had a tier 1, which was our growth markets, and then tier 2 was our protect and defend. So we were able to know what media dollars we wanted to spend in what markets. Then we had to figure out what service lines we were going to promote in which markets. So we did a BDI, CDI analysis, and that's just figuring out what the opportunities were in each market for those service lines.
Look, there are things that our Valley Children's are great at where there might only be 6 cases in the entire state of California, and we're getting 3 of those already. How much media would you put behind following those other 3 cases? You could pinpoint those 3 other individuals. You could pinpoint the referrals. What we needed to look at was what had the highest incidence in these areas and how we could umbrella message to them and grow not only those patient volumes, but grow brand awareness, brand belief, and brand impression.
It turned out there was a real opportunity in heart. And by naming specific condition states, we could identify with the physicians who want to make the referral and the patients who had that issue. When we spoke to people about Valley Children's before telling them about their heart capabilities, it was about a 43% preference for the brand. But once we explained their capabilities in heart, and specifically talking about capabilities with core triatrium sinistrum and some other specific leadership ability they had, it had a 76% improvement on the ability to say, I like you, that's a brand I want. So condition-specific branding became the approach. Marketing by region, by condition state, by story. And the patients identified with this by specific condition states.
Core triatrium sinister, a rare heart disorder.
So many doctors, exams, and no one could tell us what was wrong, except one place. Maybe he hits this pitch. Maybe he doesn't. I'm just glad he got a chance to swing.
Valley Children's, futures worth fighting for.
We are able to geo-target or geo-fence around primary care clinics or competing hospitals. And we can conquest, we can actually serve up ads to people who are sitting in another hospital about Valley Children's. So let's say, for instance, you had a mom who took their child to an adult emergency room. We could serve that family up an ad while they're sitting in that emergency room that says, you should really take your child to a pediatric emergency room because smaller needles, less radiation in the x-ray. So we've done so much with them digitally.
We developed a real-time dashboard, so now we can track which ad is working, which ad isn't. After all this study, after all this research, people like kids and puppies. Who knew? It turns out that the study showed when it was a text-based ad talking about pediatric excellence, the click-through rate was 0.18. But when you started adding rankings, it got a little bit better. When you started adding puppies and kids, it got a lot better. 25.74% click-through rate at a much higher level than anything else that was text-based alone.
That dashboard allowed us to see the difference between our different creative types. So something text-based, something using a visual, something talking about US news rankings. We could see performance, we could see which ones were outpacing, and it allowed us to push media toward our higher performing or more effective ads instantly.
In Stanislaus County, the key county where we really wanted growth, we saw preference go up from 38% to 49%. And of course, we always ask the question, awareness, preference, does that really have any impact on the bottom line? The bottom line sales of the organization grew by 17% in gross revenue during the course of this campaign.